There is a new era coming into AI, and there is one company that is positioned to beat everybody else, to beat Nvidia, to beat Broadcom. This is in the chip sector space. Who do you think that is? If you want to pause the video, drop in the comments below, give me a guess, but who do you think it is? It is a company that you've heard of. It's one of the big players out there, but this AI stock chip manufacturer is poised and primed to take advantage of the fundamental shift that is happening in the AI stock chip sector. And we're going to get into that. I'm going to reveal who that is right now. And I think that this is one that you definitely ought to own. Okay. So the company is Intel. Okay. Don't tune me out because you need to understand what is changing in the AI chip landscape. And it is massive. Okay. So we are entering into a new AI era called the inference era. Okay. And it is fundamentally a different processing landscape than we have historically seen as far as how the chips process data and specific tasks for AI computing. Okay. And Intel, with their chip lineup, is poised to be the clear winner in this space. Okay. Not Nvidia, not Broadcom. Now, both of those, Nvidia and Broadcom, are moving and are developing chips and tech to obviously compete and to be a player in this. They're not completely going to be left behind by any means, but Intel is standing pretty much alone right now in that they already have this technology, and we can talk more about it. So inference workloads are on course to consume a significant chunk of AI computing power in 2026 and moving into 2027. So there's a fundamental shift in how the AI chips are going to be processing the workloads in the AI space. Okay, so again, like I said, it's a shift is happening. So hyperscalers and AI companies are transitioning from training large language models, which, for example, Nvidia's chips, Broadcom's chips are specifically designed to do, and to putting those models to work on real world data to unlock the productivity gains that this technology promises. Okay, so that's the shift. It's transitioning from training those large language models to actually putting them to work on real world data to unlock productivity gains. Okay, that's the inference era, if you will. Okay, so a lot of money was spent on data center infrastructure to optimize and train those LLMs, those large language models. But now we're entering into that inference era, right? So inference, on the other hand, right here, doesn't require as much parallel processing power as the training phase, as it needs to act on specific inputs to respond to queries in real time. So what we're looking at is, again, a shifting and a changing of how the chips actually will be processing the workloads, if you will. Okay, so we're kind of moving out of the training of the LLMs phase, the large language models, to now how do we actually put them to real world use. Okay, consulting giant Deloitte estimates that inference workloads will consume 2/3, 75% of all AI computing power in 2026, up 50% last year. So again, there is a shift moving away from the training of the LLMs to now we're moving into the inference era. Okay, this will create a need for more AI chips of the varieties that are best suited for inference computing. That's great for Intel. Okay, in fact, it won't be surprising to see Intel eclipse the likes of Nvidia and Broadcom and the AI inference era. Okay, this is why Intel is one of the good AI chips and probably will eclipse them. Now will we see them eclipse them in market capitalization, things of this nature? That is yet to be seen. But if you've been kind of ignoring Intel, maybe this is a wake-up call to you that there is a fundamental shift happening, and that is the introduction as we're moving into the inference era for AI computing. Okay, so specifically, AI inference era is going to need application-specific integrated circuits, ASICs. They have been in healthy demand for hyperscalers and AI companies because of the advantage they can offer over general purpose parallel processors such as GPUs. Nvidia is famous for being the leader in the GPU space. By the way, I'm going to remind you is that Nvidia actually doesn't manufacture their chips. Taiwan Semiconductor does, by the way, and I've talked to you guys about that. You need to own TSM. That's a little extra free one for you there you should 100% own TSM, Taiwan Semiconductor. Got a bunch of videos on them. Go look them up. TSM, fantastic play. Everyone should own some Taiwan Semiconductor because they're the company that's manufacturing a lot of these big companies' chips. Okay, so ASIC chips, which Intel has, are more power efficient, help reduce overall computational costs when they're handling highly specific tasks. This explains why Broadcom, the biggest player in the ASICs market with an estimated market share, is forecasting a huge increase in its AI revenue. And Intel is standing there along with Broadcom as well. Okay, so again, moving on, Nvidia is gearing up for the upcoming, with their upcoming Vera Rubin processors for inference-focused tasks. So you can see Nvidia is moving into this, but again, Intel standing there. Now, Intel has had some, I guess, challenges in the past, right? They're restructuring their business and moving forward and are now really poised and primed to take advantage of this new inference era computing kind of shift that we're seeing in the AI data centers, okay? So the company is a dominant player in the server central processing unit market with a share of just over 71%. Intel is cutting its teeth in ASIC market as well. ASIC is almost doubling year over year with sequential growth up 30%. Okay, for comparison, Intel's custom ASIC revenue was up by 50% year over year in the fourth quarter of 25, right? Sequential growth up 26+%. Again, what you need to understand is market research for company estimates the market for CPUs and AI data centers could increase at an annualized rate of 28%. And as you see, we're moving more into that inference market scenario. It's companies like Broadcom as well as obviously Intel that are really going to stand there and take advantage of that. Now, again, we will see Nvidia come into that as well, but you essentially think of it this way: Intel, Broadcom have more of a head start. So again, side note here, we're talking about Intel, but Broadcom is one that you should have as well, because what you need to go back and remember is that in 2026 and beyond, 75% of the AI computing processing power is going to be going towards this new inference era type of different input output into these chips, if you will, right? So that's huge. We're moving away from kind of the GPU side of it essentially and moving more into this side of it. Okay, so that's what I've got for you. What do you think? Drop in the comments below. Look, Intel's one that some of you guys may have ignored, okay? But I think that it's a good play. Again, now that you understand there's a fundamental shift that's happening at the AI data center level as it relates to how the computing processing power is going to be utilized, moving away from basically training these LLMs, which GPUs were very, very good for that, i.e. from Nvidia, things of this nature, and moving more towards the inference area where there's a different type of input and actually applying to the data to real life workloads, things of this nature. And that's where these chips from Intel are going to really, really benefit. Okay, so what do you think? I'm definitely going to add a little bit more to my Intel bag, if you will. So thanks for giving me a few minutes. As always, hit that like and that subscribe, and I appreciate you giving me a few minutes. Take care.